Hugh Hewitt, joined now by United States Senator Tom Cotton from the great state of Arkansas. Senator Cotton, welcome. Good to speak with you.
Good morning, Hugh. Great to be on with you.
There is a big meeting today at the White House. 100 senators invited to talk about North Korea as the USS Michigan docks at Busan Harbor. The Vincent is not yet on station, and one of my sources tells me, I'm not going to worry until we tell our military dependents to leave, and we haven't done that yet. But how serious do you judge the situation on the Korean Peninsula to be?
First, Hugh, I want you thank you for taking this situation with the gravity it deserves and not making fun of the USS Michigan, despite your rivalrous view of all things coming from that state.
I already poked some fun at that. I said we're not going to play offense, but it's good for defense purposes. Okay.
Thank goodness it's not called the USS Cleveland Browns. So Hugh will be meeting tomorrow at the White House.
Oh, it's tomorrow, okay.
All 100 senators, which is unusual. We have briefings from time to time in our classified space on Capitol Hill with security cabinet members, so it's a little unusual for us to travel to the White House. But President Trump has been saying now for almost 100 days what President Obama told President Trump during the transition, which is that North Korea may be the most likely immediate crisis our country faces. Maybe not the greatest long-term threat we face, but the most immediate crisis because of Kim Jong-un's destabilizing rhetoric and actions and their continued and accelerating pace of nuclear tests and especially missile tests. I simply don't think many Americans are willing to live in a world where the Kim regime can hold at risk not only American citizens and troops in places like South Korea and Japan and Guam, even Hawaii and Alaska, but in the U.S. mainland. And for 25 years, our policy has been to kick the can down the road. Maybe at one point that was the best of a bunch of bad options, but we've now run out of road to kick the can down. President Trump has made that perfectly clear, not only to the American people, but also to our allies like South Korea and Japan, and to China, and that it's time for China to get serious about using its influence and leverage over North Korea.
But a military conflict, and people come back to this, in 1994, book Going Critical by the people who negotiated that agreement, one of them my friend Dan Poneman, they said a U.S. general put the estimates of casualties at 1 million people in South Korea alone if it came to blows. Do you agree with that assessment? And has American targeting ability increased to the point that maybe preemptive strikes can minimize that kind of havoc?
Hugh, I don't want to speculate about casualty assessments, which are often incorrect, sometimes even inflated by those who want to hamstring the commander-in-chief's flexibility. I will say this. Our targeting ability using advanced technology over the last 20 to 25 years has increased significantly. And I've been in South Korea with our troops and our leaders there, and they have on the shelf one of the largest air campaigns, probably the largest air campaign in the history of warfare, if necessary to execute. However, whatever casualties might be, they would be significant because Seoul and all of its suburbs are ranged by North Korean artillery, which is dug in the mountains and can be hard to preempt. So I think no one wants to see a conflict with conventional weapons on the Korean Peninsula, but even more, we don't want to see North Korea obtain nuclear weapons that they can put on top of missiles. That's one reason why it's so urgent that we stop this threat now. And in the end, I simply don't think the American people can live with a Kim regime that has nuclear warheads on intercontinental missiles.
What is your assessment of the stability of the regime, Senator Cotton, in terms of Kim Jong-un's ability to maintain the loyalty of those below him?
At this point, Hugh, it's hard to assess because it is such a closed society on what's happening inside the government. But for 25 years, one reason why American presidents have chosen the policy of kicking the can down the road is hoping that there might be internal change. Again, that's not necessarily an unwise policy. Sometimes that's the best option you have. Sometimes these things can change very quickly. In 1989, every government behind the Iron Curtain fell in a matter of 7 or 8 months. But we cannot risk our national security on hopes that there might be some kind of internal reforms to the Kim regime or change in ruling powers that would denuclearize. And this is one area in particular where China really needs to step up to the plate and use its influence and greater insight into what happens in North Korea to help us neutralize the threat of a nuclear North Korea once and for all.
Different but related question, the continuing resolution in defense spending. CRs are a horrible way to fund the Department of Defense. It looks like we're stuck doing that again. Is there a change coming? Is it going to get plussed up over the Mulvaney budget? What's going to happen on DOD budgeting?
Hugh, this week we're debating the remaining budget for the fiscal 2017 year. That ends at the end of September. I think the money is there to give the Department of Defense what it needs through these next 5 months. We need to do that, though, not in a continuing resolution, as you say, but in a traditional spending bill, because that gives the Pentagon all the flexibility they need to move money around, start new programs, end old programs, and so forth. The much bigger debate, though, will come in the fiscal year 2018 budget, which will be debated after we tie a bow on this year's budget. And that's an area where we really are going to have to find tens of billions of dollars more to make sure our troops have the training and preparation they need, operations and maintenance accounts are funded, and that we're modernizing our military. That'll be a debate that happens in the coming months.
And 10 seconds, Senator. When does that have to wrap up by? By November?
Well, that would have to be by the end of September, by the end of this fiscal year.
All right. Senator Tom Cotton, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us. Don't go anywhere, America. Hour number 3 of the